office? Yeah. And she's the one who trained me. Okay. Yeah, so you want to go have a seat when we get up to that, so you have a signed letter. Oh, I've had her here this week, so I realized who she was.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Ken Lawrence. I am Vice Chair of the Montgomery County Board of Commissioners, and I also serve as Chair of the Board of Elections. So we want to welcome you to the drawing of the ballot positions today, which we are, of course, doing differently this year. The offices that are on the ballot this year are so important. Our local offices, municipal level offices, and then, of course, the school board positions are always critical, but have been so critical this year in the COVID-19 pandemic. So I want to thank everyone who is stepping forward to place themselves on the ballot, to run, to serve our communities. I wish you all the best of luck. And with that, I guess we'll turn it over and start with the drawing of the offices.
Sure. Hello, my name's Matt Masakura. I'm the administrator for voter services, so I'm going to be doing the drawing today. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be drawing ballot positions for offices on the ballot where it's a contended race. So for instance, if it's a vote for office and there's 4 people on the ballot, we will not be drawing for that. Those names go in alphabetical order. If it's a vote for office and there's 5 people running, those are the offices we'll be drawing for today. We have a list of the offices we'll be drawing for and the people we'll be drawing for on our website at montcopa.org/voter-services on the primary election 2021 page. So we will be going through that now. We will be drawing numbers out of the bucket here. When I draw a number, I'll announce the number and then I'll place it down. We're taking note of the numbers. Just so you know, the lower the number, the higher you are on the ballot. So if one person draws a 3 and the next person draws a 6, the person who drew the 3 will be listed first. The person who drew the 6 will be listed second. All right. So we're going to begin now. So the first office, Magisterial District Judge 38113 for Frank Bernhardt. And sorry, this is on the Democratic side. So 38113 Democratic Frank Bernhardt. 22. And then 38113 Democratic Jody Lukens Griffiths. 24. All right. Next office, Magisterial District Judge 38113 Republican Frank Bernhardt. 28. And 38113 Republican Jody Lukens Griffiths. 20. All right. Next office, Magisterial District Judge 38115 Democratic Denise Ash. 8. So 38115 Democratic Aaron J. Holston. 24. All right, 38115 Democratic Francis J. Lawrence Jr. 3. And then 38115 Democratic Monica Matthews Reynolds. So I'll take that letter. 2. All right. So then 38115 Republican Francis J. Lawrence Jr. 14. And 38115 Republican Monica Matthews Reynolds. 23. All right. Magisterial District Judge 38128 Democratic Patrick M. Hanrahan. 29. 38128 Democratic Edward Levine. 6. All right. 38128 Republican Patrick M. Hanrahan. 22. And 38128 Republican Edward Levine. 17. Right. Magisterial District Judge 38204 Democratic Joseph A. Hirsch. 4, Magisterial District Judge 38204, Democratic Andrew M. Kronfeld. 27, Magisterial District Judge 38204, Democratic Karen Zucker. 14, Magisterial District Judge 38209, Democratic Todd Barnes. 11, Magisterial District Judge 38209, Democratic Gregory Scott. 6, the Magisterial District Judge 38209, Republican Todd Barnes. 16, Magisterial District Judge 38209, Republican Gregory Scott. 18, all right, so that concludes MDJ. So next we're going to move on to school board. Abington School Director, Democratic Brian Allen. 7, Abington School Director, Democratic Leah Fessy. 5, Abington School Director, Democratic Angelique Frazier. 12, Abington School Director, Democratic Paul E. Morse Jr. 20, Abington School Director, Democratic Yasin Muhammad. 29, Abington School Director, Democratic Jocelyn Jones Pickford. 26, Abington School Director, Democratic John Stadbeck III. 11, Abington School Director, Democratic Robert J. Wolf. 19, okay, so that's the end of the Democratic. Okay, Abington School Director, Republican Brian Allen. 30, Abington School Director, Republican Paul E. Morse Jr. 19, Abington School Director, Republican Jocelyn Jones Pickford. 26, School Director, Republican, John Stadbeck III. 6. Abington School Director, Republican, Robert J. Wolf. 4. Okay. Boyertown Area School Director, Region 3, John Emmy, or M.A.? Democrat. So Boyertown Area School Director, Region 3, Democrat, John M.A. 3. Boyertown Area School Director, Region 3, Democrat, Jeffrey Zawada. 7. Boyertown Area School Director, Region 3, Republican, John M.A. 26. Boyertown Area School Director, Region 3, Republican, Jeffrey Zawada. 6. All right. Hapro Horsham School Director, Democratic, Tarek Connor Halston. 16. Hapro Horsham School Director, Democratic, Sean Fagan. 24. Hapro Horsham School Director, Democratic, Maggie Kistner. 28. Hapro Horsham School Director, Democratic, Stephanie Metkis. 23. Hapro Horsham School Director, Democratic, Sean Patrowich. 2. Hapro Horsham School Director, Democratic, Kenneth Smith. 22. Hapro Horsham School Director, Democratic, Aaron Strout. 19. Hapro Horsham School Director, Democratic, Stephen Van Horn. 4. Hapro Horsham School Director, Democratic, Jennifer Wilson. 8. Hapro Horsham School Director, Republican, Tarek Connor Halston. 30. Hapro Horsham School Director, Republican, Sean Fagan. 21. Hapro Horsham School Director, Republican, Maggie Kistner. 22. Hapro Horsham School Director, Republican, Stephanie Metkis. 5. Hapro Horsham School Director, Republican, Sean Patrowich. 20. Hatboro Horsham School Director, Republican Kenneth Smith. Hatboro Horsham School Director, Republican Aaron Strout. 26. Hatboro Horsham School Director, Republican Stephen Van Horn. 27. Hatboro Horsham School Director, Republican Jennifer Wilson. 12. Okay. Jenkintown School Director, Democratic, Bridget Riley Beauchamp. Sorry, this is Democratic. So Jenkintown School Director, Democratic, Bridget Riley Beauchamp. 7. Jenkintown School Director, Democratic, Nathan Bridge. 3. Jenkintown School Director, Democratic, Mary Kay Fitzgerald. 18. Jenkintown School Director, Democratic, Leo G. Greenberry. That's unlettered. 5. Jenkintown School Director, Democratic, Colleen Hill. 30. Jenkintown School Director, Democratic, Megan O'Brien. 26. Jenkintown School Director, Democratic, Lisa Smith. 13. All right. So next, Lower Marion School Director, Democratic, Mary Brown. 17. Lower Marion School Director, Democratic, Christina Fink. 7. Lower Marion School Director, Democratic, Kimberly Garrison. 6. Lower Marion School Director, Democratic, Travis Kreiser. 26. Lower Marion School Director, Democratic, Brendan Salmon. 10. Lower Marion School Director, Democratic, Carrie Sautner. 28. Lower Marion School Director, Democratic, Melanie Schaffmeister. 11. Lower Marion School Director, Democratic, Anna R. Chirac. Lower Moreland School Director, Democratic, Michael Berardi. Lower Moreland School Director, Democratic, Jennifer Cannon. Lower Moreland School Director, Democratic, Danilo A. Diaz Jr. 27. Lower Moreland School Director, Democratic, Stephen B. Geiger. 21. Oh, mine's still on this page. Lower Moreland School Director, Democratic, James Lee. 15. Lower Moreland School Director, Democratic, Pamela Lipschitz. 30. Lower Moreland School Director, Democratic, Lance Wolbransky. 12. All right. Lower Moreland School Director, Republican, Michael Berardi. 2. Lower Moreland School Director, Republican, Jennifer Cannon. 11. Lower Moreland School Director, Republican, Danilo A. Diaz Jr. 30. Lower Moreland School Director, Republican, Stephen B. Geiger. 27. Lower Moreland School Director, Republican, James Lee. 20. Lower Moreland School Director, Republican, Pamela Lipschitz. 19. Lower Moreland School Director, Republican, Lance Wolbransky. 6. All right. Methacton School Director, Democratic, Jessica Bradbury. 16. Methacton School Director, Democratic, Jennifer Cancro. 12. Methacton School Director, Democratic, Elizabeth Drummond. 23. Methacton School Director, Democratic, Ralph Navarrete. 2. Methacton School Director, Democratic, Joe Rittenhouse. 24. Methacton School Director, Democratic, Christine Steer. 5. Methacton School Director, Democratic, Greg Young. School Director, Republican, Jessica Bradbury. Three. Methacton School Director, Republican, Jennifer Cancro. 29. Methacton School Director, Republican, Elizabeth Drummond. 21. Methacton School Director, Republican, Ralph Navarrete. 16. Methacton School Director, Republican, Joe Rittenhouse. 8. Methacton School Director, Republican, Christine Steer. 30. Methacton School Director, Republican, Greg Young. 2. All right. Norristown Area School Director, Democratic, Shay Ash. 2. Norristown Area School Director, Democratic, Daniel J. DeCock Sr. 23. Norristown Area School Director, Democratic, Marissa Dell. 4. Norristown Area School District, or School Director, Democratic, Mal Howell. 17. Norristown Area School Director, Democratic, Christopher Jaramillo. 22. Norristown Area School Director, Democratic, Lisa Liquinco Engelman. Okay. 30. And then Norristown Area School Director, Democratic, Tamika Mizashi. 6. Norristown Area School Director, Democratic, Cynthia M. Worth. 3. All right. So Norristown Area School Director, Republican, Shay Ash. 17. Norristown Area School Director, Republican, Daniel J. DeCock Sr. 29. Norristown Area School Director, Republican, Marissa Dell. 28. Norristown Area School Director, Republican, Christopher Jaramillo. 8. Norristown Area School Director, Republican, Lisa Liquinco Engelman. 11. Norristown Area School Director, Republican, Tamika Mizaki. 21. Norristown Area School Director, Republican, Cynthia M. Worth. 10. That's it, right? No? Okay. Next, North Penn School Director, Democratic, Jesse Bradica. 15. North Penn School Director, Democratic, Frederick Froelich. 27. North Penn School Director, Democratic, Christian Fusco. 5. North Penn School Director, Democratic, Jonathan Casa. 20. North Penn School Director, Democratic, Michael Kennedy. 21. North Penn School Director, Democratic, Alfred R. Roche III. 28. North Penn School Director, Democratic, Harry Snyder. 22. North Penn School Director, Democratic, Tina Stull. 13. North Penn School Director, Republican, Jesse Bradica. 28. North Penn School Director, Republican, Frederick Froelich. 30. North Penn School Director, Republican, Christian Fusco. 15. North Penn School Director, Republican, Jonathan Casa. 19. North Penn School Director, Republican, Michael Kennedy. 6. North Penn School Director, Republican, Alfred R. Roche III. 20. North Penn School Director, Republican, Harry Snyder. 24. North Penn School Director, Democratic, Tina Stull. Or sorry, is this Republican? Sorry.
Yeah.
North Penn School Director, and I just did Harry Snyder, right?
Yes.
Sorry. North Penn School Director, Republican, Tina Stull. 7. Perkiomen Valley School Director, Democratic, Tammy Campley. Four. Perkiomen Valley School Director, Democratic, Don Fountain. Seven. Perkiomen Valley School Director, Democratic, Jason Christopher Shoemaker Geddes. 29. Perkiomen Valley School Director, Democratic, Michelle Keating Civil. 20. Perkiomen Valley School Director, Democratic, Rowan Keenan. 12. Perkiomen Valley School Director, Democratic, Robert Liggett. 30. Get him next time. Perkiomen Valley School Director, Democratic, Edward McGuire. 10. Perkiomen Valley School Director, Democratic, Jason E. Saylor. 8. Perkiomen Valley School Director, Democratic, Michelle Smith. 15. Perkiomen Valley School Director, Democratic, Wade M. Weston. 28. All right. Perkiomen Valley School Director, Republican, Tammy Campley. 8. Perkiomen Valley School Director, Republican, Don Fountain. 14. Perkiomen Valley School Director, Republican, Jason Christopher Shoemaker Geddes. 2. Perkiomen Valley School Director, Republican, Michelle Keating Civil. 17. Perkiomen Valley School Director, Republican, Rowan Keenan. 11. Perkiomen Valley School Director, Republican, Robert Liggett. 10. Much better. Perkiomen Valley School Director, Republican, Edward McGuire. 24. Perkiomen Valley School Director, Republican, Jason E. Saylor. 23. Perkiomen Valley School Director, Republican, Michelle Smith. 6. Perkiomen Valley School Director, Republican, Wade M. Weston. 30. Okay. Pottstown School Director, Democratic, John J. Armato. Pottstown School Director, Democratic, Kurt Heidel. 28. Pottstown School Director, Democratic, Phoebe M. Kanchanek. 19. Pottstown School Director, Democratic, Deborah Ann Spence. 21. Pottstown School Director, Democratic, Diana L. Stitt. 6. Pottstown School Director, Democratic, Sean Sutterby. 7. Pottstown School Director, Republican, John J. Armato. 6. Pottstown School Director, Republican, Kurt Heidel. 16. Pottstown School Director, Republican, Phoebe M. Kanchanek. 27. Pottstown School Director, Republican, Deborah Ann Spence. 12. Pottstown School Director, Republican, Diana L. Stitt. 28. Pottstown School Director, Republican, Sean Sutterby. 5. All right. Souderton Area School Director, Democratic, William J. Brong. 3. Souderton Area School Director, Democratic, Janet Flesack. 4. Souderton Area School Director, Democratic, Andrew D. Landis. 5. Souderton Area School Director, Democratic, Stephen Nelson. Better not be 6. 7. Jeez, what are the chances? Souderton Area School Director, Democratic, Scott P. Swindells. 10. Souderton Area School Director, Republican, William J. Brung. 13. Souderton Area School Director, Republican, Janet Flesack. 21. Souderton Area School Director, Republican Andrew D. Landis. Souderton Area School Director, Republican Stephen Nelson. 18. Souderton Area School Director, Republican Scott P. Swindells. 24. All right. Springfield School Director, Democratic Angelina Banks. 4. Springfield School Director, Democratic Ann Gozard. 15. Springfield School Director, Democratic Carla Green. 7. Springfield School Director, Democratic Amy Hubley. 10. Springfield School Director, Democratic Sarah Hughes. 29. Springfield School Director, Democratic Bob Lynch. 21. Springfield School Director, Democratic Michael J. McCusker. 3. Springfield School Director, Democratic Mary Ellen Reeves. 16. Springfield School Director, Democratic Taryn Teratuski. 17. All right. Springfield School Director, Republican Angelina Banks. 17. Springfield School Director, Republican Ann Gozard. 2. Springfield School Director, Republican Amy Hubley. 19. Springfield School Director, Republican Bob Lynch. 10. Springfield School Director, Republican Mary Ellen Reeves. 11. Springfield School Director, Republican Karen Teratuski. 16. Springfield School Director, Republican Catherine Z. Trinkle. 6. All right. Springford School Director, Region 1, Democratic, Heidi Goldsmith. Springford School Director, Region 1, Democratic, Karen Weingarten. 16. Springford School Director, Region 1, Republican, Heidi Goldsmith. 4. Springford School Director, Region 1, Republican, Karen Weingarten. 8. Springford School Director, Region 3, Democratic, Abby Deerdorf. 3. Springford School Director, Region 3, Democratic, Tom DeBello. 30. Springford School Director, Region 3, Democratic, Erica Hermans. 16. Springford School Director, Region 3, Democratic, Tom McMonigal. 20. Springford School Director, Region 3, Republican, Abby Deerdorf. 7. Springford School Director, Region 3, Republican, Tom DeBello. 14. Springford School Director, Region 3, Republican, Erica Hermans. 6. Springford School Director, Region 3, Republican, Tom McMonigal. 24. Upper Dublin School Director, Democratic, Daryl Bowling. 23. Upper Dublin School Director, Democratic, Christopher Brannigan. 28. Upper Dublin School Director, Democratic, Lisa White Burns. 11. Upper Dublin School Director, Democratic, Ginny Cairo Vitella. 16. Upper Dublin School Director, Democratic, Andy Kessler. 22. Upper Dublin School Director, Democratic, Tisha Sherper. Sorry, if I mess someone's name up, it's not personal. 12. Upper Dublin School Director, Democratic, Mark Sirota. 26. Upper Dublin School Director, Democratic, Aaron Riley Stein. 5. Upper Dublin School Director, Republican, Daryl Bowling. 23. Upper Dublin School Director, Democratic, Christopher Brannigan. 17. Upper Dublin School Director, Democratic, Lisa White Burns. 13. Upper Dublin School Director, Republican, Ginny Cairo Vitella. 6. Upper Dublin School Director, Republican, Andy Kessler. 21. Upper Dublin School Director, Republican, Tisha Schertber. 10. Upper Dublin School Director, Republican, Mark Sirota. 15. Upper Dublin School Director, Republican, Aaron Riley Stein. 12. All right. Upper Marion School Director at Large, Democratic, Zachary Davis. 4. Upper Marion School Director at Large, Democratic, Jason Jones. 3. Upper Marion School Director at Large, Democratic, Ted Walmsley. 16. Upper Marion School Director at Large, Republican, Jason Jones. 11. Upper Marion School Director at Large, Republican, Ted Walmsley. 2. Upper Marion School Director, Region 1, Democratic, Daniel Gamil. 29. Upper Marion School Director, Region 1, Democratic, Brett M. Oslan. 8. Upper Marion School Director, Region 3, Democratic, Tiffany Cherry. 11. Upper Marion School Director, Region 3, Democratic, Nikki Saliastillo. 20. Upper Marion School Director at Large, 2-year term, Democratic, Lisa Egan. 30. Upper Marion School Director at Large, 2-year term, Democratic, Jen Lyons. 5. Upper Marion School Director at Large, 2-year term, Republican, Lisa Egan. 27. Upper Marion School Director at Large, 2-year term, Republican, Jen Lyons. 6. Upper Moreland School Director, Democratic, Padraig Collins. 18. Upper Moreland School Director, Democratic, Lucretia Garlinger. 27. Upper Moreland School Director, Democratic, A. Tom Hassani. 3. Upper Moreland School Director, Democratic, Sean Hopkins. 21. Upper Moreland School Director, Democratic, Lindsay Lindstrom. 14. Upper Moreland School Director, Democratic, Caitlin McLaughlin. 30. Upper Moreland School Director, Democratic, Jennifer Salat. 6. Upper Moreland School Director, Democratic, Tiffany Weber. 4. Upper Moreland School Director, Republican, Padraig Collins. 29. Upper Moreland School Director, Republican, Lucretia Garlinger. 28. Upper Moreland School Director, Republican, A. Tom Hassani. 30. Upper Moreland School Director, Republican, Sean Hopkins. 27. Upper Moreland School Director, Republican, Lindsay Lindstrom. 6. Upper Moreland School Director, Republican, Caitlin McLaughlin. 10. Upper Moreland School Director, Republican, Jennifer Salat. 20. Upper Moreland School Director, Republican, Tiffany Weber. 24. Upper Perkiomen School Director, Democratic, Melanie Cunningham. 29. Upper Perkiomen School Director, Democratic, Tatiana Galota. '27. Upper Perkiomen School Director, Democratic, Krista Lay. '26. Upper Perkiomen School Director, Democratic, Keith McCarrick. '5. Upper Perkiomen School Director, Democratic, Emily Saris McCormick. '12. Upper Perkiomen School Director, Democratic, J.P. Prego. '17. Upper Perkiomen School Director, Democratic, Eve M. Pohala. '30. Upper Perkiomen School Director, Republican, Melanie Cunningham.
To take a break?
After school district, bro. 10. Upper Perkiomen School Director, Republican, Tatiana Galota. 12. Upper Perkiomen School Director, Republican, Krista Lay. 23. Upper Perkiomen School Director, Republican, Keith McCarrick. 3. Upper Perkiomen School Director, Republican, Emily Pisaris McCormick. 15. Upper Perkiomen School Director, Republican, J.P. Prego. 6. Upper Perkiomen School Director, Republican, Eve M. Pahala. 17. All right. Wissahickon School Director, Democratic, Marshall Bleefeld. 14. Wissahickon School Director, Democratic, Rosetta Chivachi. 12. Wissahickon School Director, Democratic, Amy L.B. Ginsburg. 10. Wissahickon School Director, Democratic, Deanne Morris. 5. Wissahickon School Director, Democratic, Michael P. Tremogli. 17. Wissahickon School Director, Republican, Marshall Bleefeld. 2. Wissahickon School Director, Republican, Rosetta Chivachi. 17. Wissahickon School Director, Republican, Amy L.B. Ginsburg. 21. Wissahickon School Director, Republican, Jill Lafferty. Wissahickon School Director, Republican, John McDevitt. Wissahickon School Director, Republican, Deanne Morris. 24. Wissahickon School Director, Republican, Michael P. Tremogli. 20. That's the last of school director. I might take like 2-minute break. Just take a sip of my coffee. I will be back in 2 seconds. And then we'll get started. I have not sitting yet. Democratic, Jay Blumenthal. 27. Abington Tax Collector, Democratic, Kathy Spalding. 16. Ambler Council, Ward 1, 2-year term, Democratic, Amy Hughes. 3. Ambler Council, Ward 1, 2-year term, Democratic, Madge Monser. 10. Bridgeport Mayor, Democratic, Randy Bennett. 27. Bridgeport Mayor, Democratic, Beth Jaxier. 7. Conshohocken Council, Ward 2, Democratic, James Ike Griffin. 15. Conshohocken Council, Ward 2, Democratic, Adrian Cerna. 30. Conshohocken Council, Ward 4, Democratic, Anita L. Barton. 23. Conshohocken Council, Ward 4, Democratic, Martin Eckert. 5. Conshohocken Council, Ward 6, Democratic, Marcy Cottle. 6. Conshohocken Council, Ward 6, Democratic, Stacy Elam. 23. Douglas Tax Collector, Republican, Kimberly M. Stouch. 30. Douglas Tax Collector, Republican, Rebecca E. Zern. 10. Lansdale Council, Ward 3, Democratic, Carrie Hawkins Charlton. 23. Lansdale Council, Ward 3, Democratic, Mohammed Bakrul Islam. 28. Lansdale Council, Ward 3, Democratic, Mark Gladley. 8. Lower Gwinnett Tax Collector, Democratic, Natalie Cormier. 2. Lower Gwinnett Tax Collector, Democratic, Linda L. Sachs. 3. Marlboro Tax Collector, Democratic, Mary Jacobs. 4. Marlboro Tax Collector, Democratic, Betty J. White. 22. Narberth Council, Democratic, Frederick Bush. 7. Narberth Council, Democratic, Dennis Callan. 2. Narberth Council, Democratic, John Monroe. 29. Narberth Council, Democratic, Michelle Kananopoulos. 6. Narberth Council, Democratic, Cindy Rickards. 22. Narberth Council, Democratic, Ira Winston. 30. New Hanover Supervisor, Republican, Gregory L. Mascry. 21. New Hanover Supervisor, Republican Keith Use. '27. Norristown Council at Large, Democratic, Fernando Feliciano Jr. '20. Norristown Council at Large, Democratic, Tiffany Henley. '15. Norristown Council at Large, Democratic, Rebecca Smith. '26. Norristown Council, Ward 3, Democratic, Dustin S. Queenan. '27. Norristown Council, Ward 3, Democratic, Anna Santoyo. '15. Perkiomen Tax Collector, Democratic, David Runyon. '15. Perkiomen Tax Collector, Democratic, Diane Staples. '13. Plymouth Council, Ward 1, Democratic, Salima Lovelace. '11. Perkiomen Council, Ward 1, Democratic, Nicholas R.J. Whitney. '6. Springfield Commissioner, Ward 4, Democratic, Patrick Edis. '21. Springfield Commissioner, Ward 4, Democratic, Peter D. Wilson. '5. Upper Frederick Supervisor, Republican, William E. Landman. '4. Upper Frederick Supervisor, Republican, William J. Trey. '3. Upper Pottsgrove Commissioner, Republican, France W. Kraselkovich. '18. Upper Pottsgrove Commissioner, Republican, Hank Llewellyn. 17. Upper Pottsgrove Commissioner, Republican, Don Reed. 5. Upper Pottsgrove Commissioner, Republican, Trace Slinkard. 21. Upper Providence Supervisor, Republican, Paul F. Newland III. 15. Upper Providence Supervisor, Republican, Jim White. 19. Upper Providence Supervisor, Republican, Albert Vagnozzi. 26. Upper Providence Supervisor, Republican, Tom Yeager. 3. West Conshohocken Council, 2-year term, Republican David R. Frankenfield Jr. '24. West Conshohocken Council, 2-year term, Republican Walter C. Gleba Jr. '27. West Norton Tax Collector, Democratic, Joanne Murray. '19. West Norton Tax Collector, Democratic, Martin Sheehan. '30. West Pottsgrove Commissioner, Republican, D. Eric Hoffman. '5. West Pottsgrove Commissioner, Republican, Steve Miller. '4. West Pottsgrove Commissioner, Republican, Thomas A. Palladino. '26. West Pottsgrove Commissioner, Republican, Mark D. Stofflet. '6. West Pottsgrove Commissioner, Republican, Charles H. Valentine Jr. '23. Whip Payne Tax Collector, Democratic, Eileen Stevenson. '26. Whip Payne Tax Collector, Democratic, Melissa Wanchik. '17. Yeah, you're probably next, I think. Whip Payne Constable, Democratic, Robin Tarzia. Did nothing fill out there. '26. Whip Payne Constable, Democratic, Sam Binnicker. '30.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Worcester Supervisor, Republican, Lou Betts. '20. Worcester Supervisor, Republican, Burton T. Hines. '24. All right. Worcester Constable, Republican, Jim Phillips. '11. Worcester Constable, Republican, Gregory Robertson. '17. All right. Now we are on to election board positions. Judge of Election, Democratic, Narber 2, Scott Lewis. 3. Judge of Election, Democratic, Narber 2, Nancy Lotz. 24. Judge of Election, Democratic, Pottstown 7-1, Paula J. Corson. Judge of Election, Democratic, Pottstown 7-1, Kathleen M. O'Connor. Judge of Election, Republican, Towamenson 3-1, Pauline Braccio. 23. Judge of Election, Republican, Towamenson 3-1, Maureen J. Jusitz. 12. Judge of Election, Democratic, Whitpain 1, Mitchell Braverman. 28. Judge of Election, Democratic, Whitpain 1, Deborah L. France. 4. Judge of Election, Democratic, Whitpain 6, Caitlin Magdalinsky. 5. Judge of Election, Democratic, Whitpain 6, Margaret Walsh. 24. Judge of Election, Republican, Worcester West, Michelle Doman. 5. Judge of Election, Republican, Worcester West, Janet Gennardi. 4. All right. Inspector of Election, Democratic, Cheltenham 5-1, Marlene M. Eisenberg. 14. Inspector of Election, Democratic, Cheltenham 5-1, William Pillsbury. 21. Inspector of Election, Republican, Douglas 3, Brandon M. Scott. 15. Inspector of Election, Republican, Douglas 3, Ed White. 17. Inspector of Election, Democratic, East Greenville, Marianne P. Charlton. 24. Inspector of Election, Democratic, East Greenville, Ann S. Ryan. 20. Inspector of Election, Republican, Hatfield 3-1, Linda Arkins. Sorry. I'll reshape that. So this is Hatfield 3-1, Linda Arkins. 14. Inspector of Election, Republican, Hatfield 3-1, Lori A. Pluta. 4. Inspector of Election, Republican, Limerick 1, Julie Giorgi. 26. Inspector of Election, Republican, Limerick 1, Cheryl L. Matters. 11. Inspector of Election, Democratic, Lower Merion 5-1, Harriet K. Rublin. Six. Inspector of Election, Democratic, Lower Merion 5-1, Sarah Weisiger. 14. Inspector of Election, Democratic, Lower Merion 9-2, Jill Bailey. 28. Inspector of Election, Democratic, Lower Merion 9-2, Ellen G. Brodkin. 11. Inspector of Election, Democratic, Lower Providence 1-2, Kristen L. O'Brien. 24. Inspector of Election, Democratic, Lower Providence 1-2, Janine Sheldon. 10. Inspector of Election, Democratic, Narberth 1, Jean B. DiSabatino. 20. Inspector of Election, Democratic, Narberth 1, John W. O'Brien. 3. Inspector of Election, Democratic, Narberth 2, Juliana Disbrow. 23. Inspector of Election, Democratic, Narberth 2, Lee Hawkinson. 12. Inspector of Election, Democratic, Narberth 2, Jennifer Pierman Lammer. 27. Inspector of Election, Republican, Narberth 2, Francis A. Gaudini. 19. Inspector of Election, Republican, Narberth 2, Cindy Shaw. 15. Inspector of Election, Republican, New Hanover 2, Anita P. Kratz. 20. Inspector of Election, Republican, New Hanover 2, Nicole J. Oranotsky. 6. Inspector of Election, Republican, New Hanover 2, Tammy Wagner. 29. Inspector of Election, Democratic, North Wales 1, Adele R. Butler. 23. Inspector of Election, Democratic, North Wales 1, Karen Ann Caldwell-Pirog. 22. Inspector of Election, Republican, Perkiomen 2, Cheryl Fitzpatrick. 6. Inspector of Election, Republican, Perkiomen 2, Katie White. 19. Inspector of Election, Democratic, Talmenson 2-1, Linda Lee Hubler. Inspector of Election, Democratic, Talmenson 2-1, William H. Hubler. Inspector of Election, Democratic, Upper Dublin 1-3, Maxine S. Collier.
Yeah, there's one here. No,
Oh, you have one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, my pen died.
And I know mine just did too.
Oh.
Oh, here.
Do you have an extra?
Yeah.
Thank you. What's the likelihood of that?
Inspector of Election, Democratic, Upper Dublin 1-3, Maxine S. Collier. I think that's right.
Yes.
30. Inspector of Election, Democratic, Upper Dublin 1-3, Robert Collier Jr. 28. Inspector of Election, Republican, Upper Dublin 7-1, Charles J. Costanzi. 23. Inspector of Election, Republican, Upper Dublin 7-1, Donna W. Costanzi. 26. Inspector of Election, Republican, West Norden 1-1, Nancy E. Abel. 16. Inspector of Election, Republican, West Norden 1-1, Kathleen Kelly. 8. Inspector of Election, Democratic, White Marsh Middle 3, Caroline Q. Curley. 11. And Inspector of Election, Democratic, White Marsh Middle 3, Sharon N. Harvey. And that completes the drawing for ballot positions. We will be putting these numbers up on the website once we type them all up. So I would suggest you can check. It's montcopa.org/voter services on the primary 21 election page. Thank you very much.